In the summer of 1981, blacks in the Liverpool 8 community fought the police with petrol bombs. The government responded by appointing Cabinet Minister Micheal to generate employment in Merseyside. A task force was set up to this effect. 5 years later, we returned to Merseyside to assess what benefits, if any, came to the black community.
The task force and the Merseyside Minister, Micheal, to me, it's just one massive joke. And it reminds me very much of the old colonial days where when the natives started to get very restless or when there was a problem, you sent in your district councillor and he would go and find out what the natives wanted and he would solve the problem with a few beads and feathers and blankets and mirrors. Only in this case, the beads were promises of jobs and a few bribes.
The mentality of every single British government that's ever been formed has been one of pretending black people aren't there. There's a great cliche about Liverpool, and it's everybody's Scousers, and Liverpool is a multiracial society. Well, let me correct that, because those people are talking a load of bullshit. The only multiracial society is here in Liverpool 8. Outside of Liverpool 8, it's like Pretoria. It's controlled by the South African white man, because them over there come from here. It's the same people doing the same tricks.
It wasn't until 1981 that the word Toxteth was really heard in Liverpool 8. We've always known it as Southend, that is the south end of the city, or as L8. But I think one of the reasons why the word Toxteth is used so often now is that when you pump 30 million into Toxteth, people straight away assume that you're investing into the riot zone to give people a chance of a future. And all of this is false. Yeah, we're just coming now around onto Prince's Road, Prince's Boulevard, on which £250,000 was spent to renovate for people to pass through somewhere nice on the way home through the ghetto. The houses, as you can see, they are fine old houses where families could have been rehoused after renovation. And one of the first things that Heseltine wanted to do when he came to Liverpool was to pull down these buildings, to build council estates on either side of this boulevard, as he said, to try and keep the community together. And Heseltine had no intention of keeping this community together. As far as we're concerned, Heseltine came here to destroy. In 81, the thing that Heseltine talked about was to get commerce interested in putting money into small business ventures in which black people could be involved. But none of this ever reached fruition. Yeah, we're now on the Dock Road, passing the Albert Dock complex, which was one of Heseltine's pet babies. This is where he poured most of the millions into. So when he talks of Toxteth receiving millions, this is the Toxteth he's talking about. The Toxteth which is in the city centre, the Toxteth which is right next door to the law courts, the Toxteth which is next door to the brand new police station, the fortified police station which you see. I mean, that's the Toxteth he's talking about, not the Toxteth where the riots were. I mean, in the construction of the dock complex, there were no black people involved. And now that the thing is in full swing, you'll find no black people involved in it, and certainly you'll never see them there in any management positions. Liverpool's not a city like that.
Unemployment among young blacks stands at the alarming rate of 85%. Here, an employment agency run by a local community group grapples with the problem.
South Liverpool Personnel has been existing since 1972. It was an initiative that came about due to the high unemployment that was existing in the 70s when people could move from one job to another. Yet we found that black people were still facing discrimination in employment and training. And so the agency was set up under the Martin Luther King Foundation with regard to trying to break down those barriers regarding black people and employment. Since the 70s, nothing has really changed.
I mean, you go to the place where basically this job is being offered, and like, it's not like, you know, they're not looking for what you're actually saying or what experience you have. It's like they're looking on your face, looking at your race, looking at how you dress. You know, and they're seeing those kind of aspects about your personality still. You know, and even though they may be external still, they're not relevant to the job you're actually applying for.
Well, we're now approaching, I think it's called Trans World now, but it was at one time another of Heseltine's babies. That is the Liverpool Garden Festival. I mean, the millions that the man pumped into this and the way he spoke about it so lovingly, you'd have really thought that it was going to do something for this city. I do not know of anybody who has benefited in any way from Heseltine's Garden Festival. I mean, we laughed at him, literally laughed at him, when he came to Liverpool and told us what he intended to do. We asked him, of what consequence was a garden festival to people who were living in rat-infested housing, people who were walking the streets and being harassed by police, people who were being ignored when it came to jobs, people who had very little hope of not just a future for themselves, but very little hope of a future for their children.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon. Wanted to try and get into the garden festival.
You wanted to try and get into?
Yeah.
Are you paying?
Well, do you have to pay to get in here?
You pay at the booth there and you can't drive in. You'll have to walk in.
What's the cost of getting in?
£4.
£4. So for a family of children, if I had come here with my 4 children, it would cost me £24. My wife and I and 4 children to get in.
You got 4 children?
Yeah.
That is 3, 6, 9, 12. That is £20.
£20 for 6 of us.
Yes.
5 years later, the efforts of the task force have brought little relief to jobless young blacks. We asked the deputy leader of the local council, the largest employer in Liverpool, about their responsibility in providing jobs for blacks.
Well, I mean, the irony, of course, is, this Tory government has seen industry after industry after industry close down in the city. This Tory government has seen young people with no future, no hope whatsoever. This Tory government has robbed over £500 million from this city. That's over £500 million since 1979. And then, as an alternative to all that, they come in and they plant trees and they grow shrubs. Now, whilst nobody's against them planting trees and growing shrubs, at the end of the day, in terms of permanent jobs, in terms of some hope for young people, obviously, whether it be Liverpool 8 or elsewhere, it provides nothing.
After 81, I was involved with the Black Caucus, who used to sit down at the city council meetings to try and get things done for black people. And every proposal we put through was nearly always rejected through Tony Byrne or Derek Hatton. And the crux came when we applied for a housing grant for elderly housing called the River Avondale site. The government were prepared to give us £1 million, and the council only had to put 25% towards that. Now, right up until we were getting the money off the government, Hatton and his cronies supported us. The moment the money came through, they dropped the project and said, we'll put it back 2 years, and the money went somewhere else. The other point is, whenever there's work in this community or in any community, none of the community is taken on board to do the work. They bring in outside contractors from Manchester, Birmingham, Wolverhampton, wherever, to build property in our community while we stand on the sideline. Now, when I put this to John Hamilton, the leader of the Labour Party, he was telling me all he could do was ask the contractors to take on the local community. And what I was saying is that's not good enough. If you, the city council, hold the purse strings, you are the one that dictates how the money is spent and where and when it should go. But they didn't want to deal with that policy. They preferred to back off. Quite truthfully, they don't want to absorb black people within the employment figures.
I think trade unions have a major role to play, or they should have. I mean, like workers of the world unite, unity is strength and all this business, the working class. But when you, especially in this city, where they have the reputation of being so powerful and so militant and that, but the record on equal opportunity is abysmal. I mean, they'll strike and they'll march for more pay for themselves, better conditions for themselves, but not for more black workers. And the other crucial thing about unions is that a lot of them have nomination rights. So whenever vacancies do arise in their firms, they can nominate who gets the job. But it's their sons, it's their friends, it's their family. They never go on strike or march, say, more black workers, more equality. And so I feel the trade unions badly let us down.
We accept our responsibility for that situation. It's pointless trying to duck it, but we're not the only organisation who's been here. The City Council's been here for a long time, the Labour Party's been here a long time, and they haven't addressed those problems. What we've tried to do over the past few years is recognise our responsibility for that in the past, and with our black members and the black community start to do things about it. It doesn't mean that everything we do then is right, necessarily, but we're trying to at least make a start.
I know nothing of this, brothers, sisters, nephews, nieces, etc. I know nothing about that at all, but I do certainly accept, and I think that the majority of trade unions involved would also accept, that we certainly haven't gone anywhere near far enough.
Here we have a militant left-wing council, ever so socialist and ever so, you know, equal opportunities regarding women and black people. And what are they giving us? They're not giving us nothing.
It is no mystery, we're winning victory. Now tell me something, Mr. Right-wing man, tell me something. How long you really feel we would have gravel and squeal when so much murder conceal, when we wound can't heal, when we feel the way we feel the way we feel, Well, there was Toxteth, and there was Maside, and a lot of other places where the police had to hide. Well, there was Brixton, and there was Chapeltown, and a lot of other places that was burned to the ground, burned to the ground, burned to the ground. It is no mystery, we're making history. It is no mystery, we're winning victory. It is no mystery, we're making history. It is no mystery, we're winning victory.
The council did set up a race relations unit, which at once plunged them into controversy with the local black community.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the function of the unit, I believe, is to serve the community and to advise the city council. And I believe that the priority for the unit is the question of unemployment, black unemployment. I believe the unit will be judged on its ability to gain employment for the black community. If for one moment the majority of the black community did not support the appointment or did not believe that I should be given a chance to carry out my policies, I wouldn't have been in Liverpool longer than 2 weeks. I believe I've got that overwhelming support.
I spoke with Sam Bond this morning. He says...
Sam who?
Bond.
Oh, yeah.
He says he's got a lot of support. He says he's got this nice program and policy to make this place a better place to give jobs and all of that. What sort of support has he got?
Well, I think the support that Sam Bond has shows in the fact that he does not visit the area.
Can't he come here?
He's quite free to come here, but he doesn't feel safe coming here. I mean, he is here supposedly to represent the black people of this area, and yet he doesn't walk freely on the streets. He does not come into any of our clubs or anywhere that we socialize. He has to walk anywhere with bodyguards. He has to bribe people to bully him into a meeting or attempt to bully him into a meeting. So I would just say to Sam Bond, if you have the support that you say you have, if it is merely a vociferous minority who oppose you, then why aren't you doing your job?
So your point about Sam Bond did not set up the race unit. The black community and its representatives were the ones who drew up the plans and who got it into motion. Sam Bond was just plucked out from the Labour Party to take their head post. They wanted somebody who would pull party policy lines, but the actual job specification was created from within this black community, from within the talents within the black people in this community. So Sam Bond and the Labour Party did not create it.
There is a small group of community workers opposing this appointment. You know, I don't really wish to take up time discussing their involvement.
It's obvious, and Sam admits that he doesn't know Liverpool very well.
I've got about 2 more minutes.
Obvious, he's a young man without much experience, not even of race relations, even of life. How do you square going over the heads of blacks in Liverpool, a unique area, and going all the way to London to import a candidate?
You see, that is nothing new. I mean, I can think of 3 individuals who've been active in the Liverpool black community over the past few years who've had jobs in the GLC, in Lambeth, in Manchester. It's not new for blacks to go to other areas to do a job of work. I mean, you as a Londoner here in Liverpool now doing a job of work. That is often the case that goes on. But certainly, if it was the case that Sam couldn't do the job, be he from Liverpool or London or Manchester or anywhere else, I'd be the first person to say bye-bye, Sam. No question about it.
Let me ask you one more question, Sam. Have you any political affiliations?
No. I'm a member of the Labour Party.
Has that anything to do with why you were chosen for the job?
That's right. They have also said that I'm a member and supporter of militants.
Are you?
No.
We are living in a city that is a working museum to racism in modern day. Liverpool 8 is actually, we call it the homelands, right? To us, we are suffering apartheid. We're not employed in town. We're not a magistrate. We're not in the police force. We're not even on the city council. We are nowhere in town. So from our point of view, the system is apartheid against us. Now, if Bond is sincere as he says, I say this to him, as a black man, stand up and say that this city is racist and it's on the equivalent of South Africa.
After the revolt of 1981, the local community sought a political solution.
I think one of the greatest problems we have in an area such as this is that the people who hold power want to choose the leaders. It can't happen. Those days are gone. We've had imposed rule, imposed government for so long. We're not taking it anymore. We're fighting back and we're saying we will choose our own leaders. We will not have the Sam Bonds speak for us. We know our problems.
This is our future. Without these, we have no future. They are our future. And people like me, Michael and others have been described as very aggressive speakers.
Yes.
We have no choice but to be aggressive speakers. We have 2 choices, be aggressive speakers or be violent and reactionary. Violent and reactionary gets us nowhere, only violence wins. But if we don't break out of this in a political way, these children, in 5-10 years from now, they won't be throwing bricks like we did. They'll be talking to people like the IRA. And when a situation like that happens, there is no stopping it. And so before we can get to that stage, we must try and stop it. We must try to prevent it.
I can talk to you as a man about the problems that I suffer as a black man, about the problems that my children and all black children are going to suffer in the future. I mean, I wish I knew the answers. And sadly, the only time, as I said, that they've taken notice of us is when we have risen to violence.